Am I the a-hole for letting my brother get arrested? You did what? Hey, what's up guys, it's Breezy Reads back with another Reddit reading. Today we explore some of the most interesting and controversial topics on the internet. Today we're diving into the world of Am I the A-hole, where people share their real life stories and ask the internet to weigh in on whether they were right or wrong in a particular situation. In this video, we'll be reading some of the most thought-provoking and eye-opening posts from the subreddit, and discussing different perspectives and opinions that arise from them. So grab a snack, settle in, because things are about to get interesting. Without further ado, let's dive into our first post. Am I the a-hole for not packing my brother's luggage and letting him get arrested? My parents and my brother seem to consider me his servant since he was born. Don't know why though, it's not cultural. We are as homegrown as can be. He is 5 years younger than me and I've always been spoiled. Whatever, I got out and got my education. Thanks to my dual citizenship, I was able to get a job in Vancouver, Canada in the film industry. And I like to think I'm doing well. I met my boyfriend here and we will see where that goes. My parents brought my brother up to visit me last week. My brother is on his gap year and my parents wanted to take him skiing up here. They stayed with me for a couple days on their way home. It was great to see them even though they tried to turn me into his mate again. On their way home, he tried to tell me to pack his bag for him. I politely told him to get effed. I wasn't in our parents' house and I didn't have to follow their rules. He got angry and just crammed stuff in his bag. Fun fact about cannabis in Canada, each province sets their age limit for use. Next door in Alberta, you can buy alcohol and weed at 18. In my province, it's 19. There are also signs all over the airport that say not to travel with that over the border, even if it's legal in your state. Guess what he had in his luggage? Guess who got in trouble for not being careful about his luggage? My parents are mad at me because I was so irresponsible and let him pack that in his luggage. My brother thinks I'm the a-hole for not packing his luggage, and I actually feel quite bad about getting that idiot in trouble. He's a spoiled little jerk, but I do love him. If he had not asked me nicely, I would have helped him. Am I the a-hole? I think OP is in the right here. They set a boundary and didn't let them cross it. It's their own fault that they got in trouble with it. It probably wouldn't have happened if they had treated her a little bit nicer. Am I the a-hole for not giving someone my cart at Aldi because they didn't have a quarter? Finished my shopping at Aldi and loaded the car. I can see a family waiting for me to bring my cart back so they can go in. There are plenty of carts available. I'm assuming at this stage it was a case of easier to grab one that's out and give me a quarter, rather than unlock one. As I approach, I ask for a quarter, 25 cents for you outside the US. They look at me like, what the F? I say I need a quarter if I'm going to hand it over. Mom looks at me in total disgust and says something unpleasant because I won't just hand it over before the family runs into the store. Not even a, sorry, we don't have any change or some other excuse, they just expected me to hand over the cart. Now I know it's only a quarter, but still, I typically keep one in the car just for this purpose, especially because I don't tend to have change. So, am I the a-hole for not just handing it over? I think OP is not the a-hole here, and because they were rude and unpleasant about it, I think he is even more so not the a-hole. It's his money, he's allowed to do whatever he wants with it. He doesn't have to give you his cart. You're not entitled to a cart. Am I the a-hole for not eating what was made for me as it was served? I gave birth 2 months ago, and everybody's saying I should be eating less because I'm not eating for 2 anymore, but I'm actually hungrier now than I was before. My sister-in-law said she was also really hungry after giving birth, but says it's your body tricking you and you have to ignore it. She said to be careful because I'm much shorter than she is and will gain weight faster. She offered to bring me some food to help out. Yesterday she brought over lunch for everyone, and it was a salad. I was pretty hungry because I hadn't eaten since breakfast, so I added boiled eggs from the fridge and some cheese. My sister-in-law said I turned her low-fat meal into a fatty one and defeated the point of bringing food over for me. She pointed out that my husband, who is taller and more muscular than me, didn't add anything to his lunch. I said I was hungry, so I had to add things. She was upset and left. My husband thinks I should have just eaten the salad as it was and eaten the snack afterwards as to not hurt her feelings. Maybe he's right, and I was ungrateful, but when I'm hungry, I eat what I want. So, am I the a-hole? You are absolutely not the a-hole. Nobody can tell you how hungry to be, and your husband really should feel ashamed for not sticking up for you. It's okay to be hungry after pregnancy. There is a lot going on in your body, and your body needs time to recover afterwards, so they shouldn't be making you feel uncomfortable about eating. You just need to eat. It's a part of life. Am I the a-hole for not letting my daughter move in with me? I, 49 male, have 2 daughters, one 20 female and 17 female. Their mother and I are divorced and we do not live in the same state. My oldest daughter currently goes to a private university near her mom, which is mostly paid by scholarships, and her mom pays the difference. While my youngest daughter was looking at schools during her junior year, she fell in love with a school that is practically in my backyard. She called and asked if she could spend her senior year with me and my wife in order to have in-state tuition. From context, my wife and I have a 2-bedroom condo, and one room is an office for my wife that she does not use as much because she has several back problems and prefers to work from her chair. We also have 2 dogs, so it's a small space. I told her I would talk to her stepmom about this proposition and get back to her. A week later or so, she calls me and asks if we have made a decision on the matter, and I said we do not have enough space, and we think you would not have a good time here and would miss your mom too much. My daughter has now made a college decision. She's going to a college that is across the country from me. I'm concerned that she would be so far away from me and her mom. Am I the a-hole? This has gotta be the dumbest. Yes, you're the a-hole. You could have had her in your home, in your backyard, but now you want to be picky and be like, oh, she's going all the way across the country from me. Dude, what is wrong with you? You had an opportunity and you missed it. That's your fault. Am I the a-hole for saying my son can make his own choices? My son is 18 and will graduate from high school in a few months. Lately he has been fighting a lot with my wife and I. My wife isn't his biological mother, but she's been his mom since he was 3. A week ago they got into a big fight, and my wife got frustrated and yelled at him that she wasn't his mother. Since then he has been completely cold to her, and when he does have to address her, he does so by her first name. My wife confiscated the keys to his cars last night, but I gave them back this morning. Because he didn't curse at her, just called her by name. Besides, I don't want to drive kids all the way to school and then pick them up. My wife is upset and said I need to support her and talk to him. I think it's pointless. He's 18. If he doesn't want to call her mom, we really can't make him. My wife says I'm being a lazy a-hole that just doesn't want to have a conversation with him. Maybe I am an a-hole, but I did talk to him. He said he's not going to call her mom, ever. Well, what am I supposed to do about it? Even if we find a way to force him to, he's going to school out of state, so what will we do then? It just seems like a pointless battle that'll only create more animosity, but maybe that's just what a lazy a-hole would say. This guy is definitely not the a-hole. It's his wife's fault that she said all that to him. This is a classic case of you made this bed, now lay in it. It's her fault, so now she has to deal with the repercussions. Am I the a-hole for making my brother-in-law look dumb by explaining a riddle? My sister is married to a know-it-all. She loves him and he is a great dad. However, he seems to think that because he went to college, he knows more about every subject than everyone. My nephew and I share a love of riddles and puzzles. I have a forge in my shop and I make blacksmith puzzles as a side hustle. When I come to visit them, I always bring one out as a gift for my nephew. It's just our thing. His dad thinks they are a waste. Anyway, I heard a cool riddle, so when I was over there, I asked my nephew if he could figure it out. The answer is 100 miles, and it's either very simple to answer or extremely complicated. It took him about 5 minutes to get the answer. Then he went and asked his dad the riddle. My brother-in-law, of course, had to try and show that he could do the math to figure out the answer. He couldn't. So he came over to where I was talking to my sister and nieces and said I was a jerk for giving the answer to his son to make him look dumb. I hadn't. I said that. He didn't believe me. So I made sure that my nephew had explained the riddle correctly. He had. Brother-in-law said there was no way his kid could do the math. I reduced the riddle down to 2 pieces of information. Then I got a piece of paper and wrote them down. And then I asked him if he understood. He said I was trying to make him look foolish in front of his family. I wasn't. It's just a riddle, and it's easy to understand why someone might think it requires a degree in mathematics to figure it out. My sister asked me to make nice, so I did, but he's still salty about it. Am I the a-hole? You're not the a-hole. It's not your fault this dude has thin skin. Keep enjoying your riddles and puzzles with your nephew. It'll be a great bonding thing for y'all. Am I the a-hole for shouting at someone at work? I, 28 male, shouted at a fellow colleague, 34 male, for smoking near a petrol tank. I thought this was the right thing to do as I don't want an explosion to happen or a fire that could badly damage the workplace and or seriously injure people. 3 other colleagues, including him, shouted back to me saying, "Dickhead, who cares, and stop being a pussy." He refused to move after me shouting multiple times to step away from the tank, to which case my father, 55 male, who was the owner and manager, had to get involved and shout at them to step away. Now all they do is stare at me like I was the a-hole for this. My dad says I did my best, but they were just acting like pricks. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for not quitting my job because I didn't clean the house? So basically, what the title says. I, 31 female, have been married for 11 years to my husband, 35 male. My job is extremely flexible to work around my 2 kids' school schedules, and I make decent money. My husband had this idea though, that if there are dishes in the sink, or the floors need to be swept, laundry folded, etc., that I shouldn't go to work that day. We made the deal that if I went back to work, this is how it would go. I feel it's a pretty unfair deal though. I try to save call-offs for when the kids are sick, but it turns into a big thing every time, so I usually end up staying home and doing the chores. Some days I'm just so tired I didn't get around to it, but I think it's really unfair that I have to do all the appointments, grocery shopping, and most of the house chores. He He says if I can't handle it, I should just quit. But we could use the money since we bought our first house this year. I feel like I'm going crazy, but I usually give in on everything, but I really like my job. Would I be the a-hole if I told him that he should give me a break on this at times even though this is the agreement we made when I went back in 4 years ago? My boss is starting to get irritated when I don't have a very good reason for not coming in. Your husband sounds borderline abusive, and that is not healthy at all. If you want to have a job, then have a job. Why is he so against it? Thanks for watching this video on Am I the A-hole? If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more Reddit posts. Let me know in the comments what you think about this situation discussed in the video. Were they justified, or could things have been handled differently? Until next time, keep an open mind and stay curious.